March 1, 1896. 100,000 Ethiopian soldiers stand on the hills of Adwa. Below them, 17,000 Italian soldiers. Behind them, the fate of all of Africa. While 90% of the continent was colonized in 30 years, one country refused to fall. Ethiopia was never colonized. And it wasn't luck. It was strategy, geography, and a leader Europe underestimated. These are the 5 reasons how. The context. The scramble for Africa. In 1885, 14 European countries met in Berlin. They didn't invite a single African leader. In 3 months, they drew lines on a map and split Africa like a birthday cake. Why did Europe want Africa so badly? 1. Resources. Rubber from Congo, gold from South Africa, cotton from Egypt. Industrial Europe needed raw materials and Africa had them. 2. Markets. European factories were overproducing. They needed new places to sell goods. 3. National pride. A country with colonies looked powerful. France versus Britain versus Germany became a competition. 4. Missionary work. Civilizing mission was the excuse to spread Christianity and European culture. By 1914, only Ethiopia and Liberia remained independent. Everywhere else had a European flag. Reason 1. The Battle of Adwa. Ethiopia's masterstroke. Italy had already taken Eritrea in 1889. They thought Ethiopia was next. Emperor Menelik II thought differently. The build-up. Italy signed the Treaty of Wachol with Ethiopia in 1889. The Italian version said Ethiopia was an Italian protectorate. The Amharic version didn't. When Menelik discovered the difference, he rejected the treaty. Italy responded by invading. The battle. 1. Preparation. Menelik united all Ethiopian kingdoms. Tigray, Amhara, Oromo, Somali. 100,000 soldiers, 30,000 rifles. He'd been buying weapons from Russia and France for 5 years, preparing for this. 2. Tactics. Italians marched into the mountains of Adwa at 2,500 altitude. Ethiopian soldiers knew every path. They attacked at dawn when Italians were still setting up camp. 3. The result. 7,000 Italians killed, 3,000 captured. The rest fled. Italy's army was destroyed in 6 hours. The aftermath. The Treaty of Addis Ababa in 1896 forced Italy to recognize Ethiopia as fully independent. News spread worldwide. For the first time, a black African army had defeated a white European colonial power. This inspired independence movements across Africa and the Caribbean for the next 70 years. Reason 2. The mountainous fortress. Ethiopia's geography is its natural armor. 1. The Ethiopian Highlands. 70% of the country sits above 1,500 meters. The capital Addis Ababa is at 2,355 meters. European soldiers suffered from altitude sickness, low oxygen, and extreme temperature swings, 30 degrees Celsius days dropping to 5 degrees Celsius nights. 2. The Rift Valley. Deep ravines and cliffs made it impossible to build railways or move artillery. Compare that to Nigeria's flat Niger River basin where Britain moved troops easily. 3. Disease barrier. While West Africa was called the white man's grave because of malaria, Ethiopia's altitude made it harder for malaria-carrying mosquitoes to survive. European troops stayed healthier _ still lost. Think about it. Britain took Nigeria with gunboats on the Niger River. You can't sail a gunboat up a 3,000-meter mountain. Reason 3. 3,000 years of centralized power. Most of Africa in 1885 was fragmented into hundreds of kingdoms and chiefdoms. Nigeria had the Sokoto Caliphate, Royal Empire, the Benin Kingdom. All separate. Easy to divide and conquer. Ethiopia was different. The reasons. 1. The Solomonic dynasty. Claimed descent from King Solomon and Queen Sheba. Unbroken rule since 1270 AD. That's 600 years of centralized government before Europeans even arrived in Africa. 2. Unified religion. Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity created a shared national identity. churches, monasteries, and written Amharic language tied people together across regions. 3. Standing army. Ethiopia had a professional military tradition dating back to the Aksumite Empire in 100 AD. They weren't farmers picking up spears. They were soldiers. When Menelik II called for war against Italy, the entire country mobilized in weeks. No civil war. No internal betrayal. Reason 4. Diplomatic chess master. Menelik II wasn't just a warrior. He was a diplomat who played Europe against itself. 1. Russia alliance. Both countries were Orthodox Christian. Russia saw Ethiopia as a religious ally against Catholic Italy and Protestant Britain. Russia sent 30,000 rifles, 5 million bullets, and military advisors. 2. France Railway. France built the 780,000-mile railway from Djibouti to Addis Ababa starting in 1897. This gave Ethiopia a direct trade route to the Red Sea without going through British-controlled territory. 3. British recognition. After Adwa, Britain realized fighting Ethiopia was expensive and risky. In 1897, Britain signed a treaty recognizing Ethiopian sovereignty and even ceded some border territory. Menelik's quote, "I have no intention of being a passive spectator while other powers divide up Africa." He acted on it. Reason 5. Strategic timing plus modernization. Menelik II understood you can't fight 1896 with 1800s weapons. 1. Military modernization. Between 1889 to 1896, he imported modern breech-loading rifles, machine guns, and artillery. Ethiopia became the most heavily armed African state at the time. 2. Economic reforms. He introduced modern currency, postal service, then telephone lines. Ethiopia looked like a modern state on paper, not a tribal territory. 3. Timing. The Battle of Adwa happened just as European public opinion was shifting. After news of Italian defeat reached Europe, there was massive anti-war sentiment. Governments couldn't justify another invasion. Conclusion. The ripple effect. Ethiopia's victory didn't just save Ethiopia. It changed Africa's future. Pan-Africanism. Leaders like Marcus Garvey and Kwame Nkrumah used Ethiopia as proof that black self-rule was possible. Symbol of resistance. During the 1930s when Italy invaded again under Mussolini, Ethiopia became the rallying cry for anti-colonial movements worldwide. Legacy today. Ethiopia is the only African country that was never formally colonized. That's why it hosts the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa. Names have power. Independence has power. And on March 1, 1896, Ethiopia proved that a united Africa could stand against an empire. Comment ADWA if this surprised you. Subscribe and comment Nigeria if you want the breakdown of how Nigeria's name was a 4,000-mile mistake made by a British mistress.